Hello, and welcome to our first five questions series, where we talk to interesting leaders about challenges facing families and children and what we can do to address them. I couldn't be more thrilled to be joined today by Chef Andrew Zimmern, who, in addition to being an award-winning chef and restaurateur, has been a wonderful advocate. Chef, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Great to have you. Let's kick it off with our first question. We consider ourselves here at the First 5 Years Fund fortunate to be able to work with the wonderful team at the Independent Restaurant Coalition, or IRC, an organization you helped to found in 2020. Why don't we start by broadly talking about all the great work IRC does for children, families, and the industry? What issues are you and the IRC looking to tackle?
Well, it's a big question, and I think it has some really specific answers. Anytime that we are helping a restaurant uh, worker of any kind, anytime that we are representing that industry, de facto, we are helping parents and families maintain jobs, uh, uh, gain equity where it's needed, maintain equity where it's in jeopardy, and fight for equity is when they've been lost, right? Um, we started the IRC when COVID hit because we saw a huge problem coming up with all of these mandatory closures and the very nature of the restaurant industry being one made up of people who are a very special and talented, unique, highly skilled group. I love food people more than any other people on planet Earth. I am a restaurant person. This is my 50th year. Well, in 2 weeks, I will celebrate my 50th anniversary of my first job in a restaurant. And I've never stopped. So, I mean, that's pretty big for me. But the restaurant community is made up of is the largest or second largest employer of first-time job seekers, last-time job seekers, single moms and dads, returning citizens coming from jails and institutions, um, new immigrants, legal and illegal. We have so many special different groups that make up the backbone of this industry. And because of that, they're if they lose a job in a restaurant, they don't turn to LinkedIn and grab another VP job at the investment bank down the street, right? Um, the so it is incumbent upon us, if we actually look at the numbers, to preserve worker integrity, worker value, and benefits, new and gain new and preserve old, for that group, because they don't have a lot of people fighting for them, number one. And number two, if that group, 10, 11 million strong, depending on whose data you look at, that is such a huge number of people that slide underneath the line at which they become dependent on so many other places for resources that we burn those resources out. It costs us too much money, right? I want to save my government money. I don't want to overspend money, but taking care of restaurant employees is so valuable. And of course, a huge percentage of those are parents or part of families, the same group that you guys fight for. When we founded, we decided we were only going to fight one issue. We're going to make sure PPP
Right.
is preserved. We did a great job with that. It worked. Now we're expanding what our purview is. We want to be issue oriented. We want to pick specific issues so that we are still targeted, because we know that's where we can be successful, right? So that means fighting for all kinds of policies for an industry, as long as they are equitable, sustainable, and family friendly. When we talk about families, one of the big one is, pay equity. One of the gender pay equity. One of the other, because so many single moms are a part of the restaurant community. Another one is childcare. The hours in restaurants are not conducive. I mean, look, a 9 to 5 job is hard enough. So imagine if your employer said, "Yeah, come around 10, but we don't know when you're going to be able to get off," right? You may not be able to, oh, if we're busy and someone doesn't show up at night, you need to stick around and serve those tables or cook on that line or wash those dishes or stay at the host stand or stay behind the bar, regardless of what time you need to pick up a child at school, right? And they don't have the benefits that are conducive to single parenting or even dual income families that have two parent or caregiver figures. So childcare becomes a huge piece of this puzzle because of the parents we employ. So many people forget about that. They look at this and say, well, you don't employ children. It's like, no, we don't. We employ people who have children, right? So, there are technical things that, and I'm not a politician. I just play one on television sometimes, actually. But, refundable tax credits for small businesses that offer childcare benefits, right? That's a huge thing for people looking for a job in a restaurant if that restaurant can provide childcare benefits. So that includes also tax incentives, and we want to make it easier. Restaurants are a penny's profit business, right? They exist on razor thin margins, and those margins are getting smaller because of the economy and all the other problems that we are dealing with over the last 4, 5, 6 months. So it's incumbent upon us to support working parents now more than ever. I mean, it's a huge, huge task and really, really important. Restaurant industry is tough. The most restaurants are operating, as we know it, thin margins. We need to preserve our restaurant industry. Independent restaurants alone are 6% of GDP, right?
Right.
Um, that's a massive number. So as good global citizens, we can't afford to let this industry fail or its employees fail, right? We also have a notoriously hard, increasingly difficult time maintaining employees, right? So if we want to maintain employees, we have to fight for the issues that make our workplaces appealing to potential employees, right? So that's why we have to solve, in your case, things that overlap for things like childcare issues. But I think that's just one of many reasons, right?
Mhm.
We need to do the right thing in our lives. There is a moral principle at stake here that when you look back at the history of self-development, at human history, are vital pieces of being successful in life. We need a restaurant industry that truly supports everyone. You hear all the time about restaurant worker burnout, and we've exited more people than we've onboarded, and all of the struggles involved, and how so many people during the COVID crisis took a look at their lives. They realized they were feeling differently and didn't return, by the way, not just to the restaurant industry, to every industry,
Right.
right? People, there was more change of careers than ever before, right? Um, but let's confine ourselves to the independent restaurant industry, which is the one that I love the most. I think a great place to start, and it's your issue as well, so I'm going to place it number one, is affordable, accessible childcare, right? I think if we do that, it becomes so much easier for single moms and single dads and dual income, co-parented, co-caregiving families as well, however they identify.
Sure.
And the reason that I'm going to list that first, yes, in part it's because I'm talking to you, but um, we are the largest employer still, I believe, of single moms and single dads. The last data that I saw a year ago, I've no idea to think it changed, right?
Right.
So many people turn to restaurants for those flexible set schedules. So we've become more rigid. we used to be a place that was easier for them to be. We become much more rigid because the stakes are higher, the competition is harder, the dollars are harder to come by. And we've also marginalized other workers, right? So it comes with, there's never one way to solve a problem. So if you give affordable, accessible childcare as a backstopped benefit, I would like to see that supported by the Fed. The cost of doing that, by the way, is a rounding error in the federal budget, a rounding error, right?
Yeah.
So it seems to me in an industry that represents 6% of GDP and employs 10 to 11 million people, this is a congressional no-brainer, right? To be giving this backstopping restaurants so that everyone can do that. Well, I just wrote this in a piece in an op-ed the other day that in all places, Open Table is going to publish and send to the millions of people on their network, which I'm really flattered by. But it's because of the people in our industry, and it's because of the nature of hospitality. And I think at its very core, people seek out these jobs because they, even if they can't put a label on it themselves, or even if they have a block that prevents them from seeing it entirely, if you're in the hospitality business, you are predisposed to want to do things for other people and solve problems. I really believe in the power of the people in our industry. They've been asked to pivot a million times. They're the smartest, most creative human beings that I know of. And we keep making change every year. Well, some restaurants every day. And I'm not making a yes, we change the menu joke based on what comes into the marketplace, but that is, we're used to change and we embrace it and we're very creative about it. It was a point that I made in that op-ed. Second thing would be that I believe internally in the restaurant community, there is more enthusiasm now to change the models and more enthusiasm now to professionalize ourselves as small businesses. You know, a lot of restaurants that make $1 million a year, small little restaurants, um, a hamburger hot dog place that does $1 million a year that, is operated by its owners and maybe two or three other employees. Um, Even now, they're seeing the benefits for professionalizing to bring a few extra to their bottom line so that they can afford things to keep their 2, 3, 4, 5 employees with them, right? And not going to the fast fooder across the street that because it's a $1 trillion business is getting a lot of government support that the little $1 million business isn't. It's so out of whack. But I believe people are seeing the need for it because we have some momentum with change, right? Um, the We have real proposals out there with real support. I'm very much aware of the Restaurant Service Change Tax Fairness Act because that's something that the IRC is a part of. The Brit Kane package is one that you guys have been very involved in, and is something that I became aware of when we started having this preparing for this conversation. But we're seeing real bills with real change. I'm a co-founder of the Coalition for Sustainable Agriculture and sustainable aquaculture. And too many interviews today. I have an aquaculture one coming up after this. And one of the things that we've noticed is that we actually have some support in Congress to get this passed to now, currently, maybe more than ever before. So when I look at this landscape, I'm like, wow, we do have a lot of food issues that have gotten enough traction. And I think those in our Senate and in our Congress are seeing some of the interconnectedness of our food system that they didn't see before. Shockingly, why now? But I'll take it, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing, and this is cheesy, but I truly believe it. Um, I, a handful of us have been talking for 30 years at a public level about food as a connector,
Mm.
food as a means to solve problems as a way to unite human beings, right? I did a show called Family Dinner on TV where I just showed up at people's houses and had dinner with them. Bizarre Foods, we always had a family meal in it. Both of those were born of my desire for people in Australia to see how families in Ghana had dinner, and for families in, you know, LaGrange, Wisconsin, to see how people in a French village ate. Families have way more in common than we ever thought. Human beings have way more in common than we ever thought. Jose Andres, my one of my close friends, always talks about uh, the need for longer tables because smaller tables have worked. So let's just extend them and bring more people to the table. People forget the perquisite for having longer tables. It's because people really can unite over food. It is one of the most valuable social connection tools we have.
I am hopeful and appreciate the fact that our long table of individuals and industries looking to advocate on behalf of children and families and affordable, accessible childcare is getting bigger and bigger as we speak, thanks to folks like you. So appreciate you taking the time today, and I learned a lot, and I feel inspired and ready for the week. So
Well,
thank you.
thank you for being such a great partner to the Independent Restaurant Coalition as well. We need everyone linking arms to make this country a better place and make this world a better place. So thank you for all you do.
Happy to do it. Thank you. Take care now.
Thank you.
All right, bye.